Welcome back to another video. Thank you for checking in the channel again. I appreciate everyone for returning. Whoever's new here, welcome. This is my Lexus RCF, and my brother built me a Valvetronic exhaust. Hear me out. If y'all didn't know, my previous car was in an accident. I actually was on the way to bring it to get my Valvetronic mufflers added on to my old car. Since that car is sadly gone, we just decided to throw it on the RCF. I'll attach a bunch of clips of him doing welding, everything like that. I was injured recovering when he was doing it. Thank you for him. I appreciate him and all he does for me. Pretty much my brother built the exhaust system axle back around the muffler. He pretty much built it from the flange back and welded everything together. So I know you probably hate hearing my voice and doing the voiceover, but sadly he did this all on his own time. This is when I was still recovering from the wreck, so I couldn't be there to record with him. But thankfully enough, he was able to send me some clips and record a few clips, so I'm just doing a voiceover of pretty much everything that we did. Before we continue, I just want to talk about last fit LEDs real quick. The T10 bulbs are by far my most favorite bulbs out in the world. They're very universal, extremely bright. Gave some to my brother and my neighbor, and they threw it on their cars. Really quick and simple, and they love it. So use my discount code JNLEX15. Help you save 15% off on your next order. Get those T10 bulbs. Come in multiple colors in case you have the red LEDs like most, I believe, Korean cars do. In European cars, they have that red light. They have that and the red bulbs. Pick yourself up today. Thank Last Fit for always helping out the channel. Let's get back into the video. So how I actually got these mufflers, they came from my older brother. He had a Kia Stinger and he had a single exit to dual. He gave it to me for a pretty good price, so I couldn't say no. And I wanted the quad exhaust tips. So pretty much if we had to do the dual and have the slant, we'll have to get a 1 to 2 tips, or my brother had a great idea just to cut the U shape of the Valvetronic mufflers and make it 2 exhaust tips. Because if we got the 1 to 2 tips, it wouldn't be straight when we slanted it. The tips would be kind of crooked. Then we'll have to cut the tips and re-weld it on. So this idea would pretty much prevent that, and they can face the right direction and not worry about it just trying to cut and weld the tips and do all that bull crap. Who wouldn't want the notorious F slant quad tips? That way one tip will be pretty much all the smoke will be coming out, all the noise will be coming out of it when the valve is closed. When the valve is open, all the sound and smoke will pretty much come out of that one other tip. Pretty much how air flows. Air tries to escape from the less restrictive area. So when the valve's open, it goes up that one tip, valve's closed, goes up the other tip. Pretty much that's how we did it. Before you hose us for his welds, he was working with a new machine and was testing it still, so it got better over time. And also you can't beat family labor, free labor, and it never leaked, and it holds. So can't complain with that, huh? We did have an issue of the exhaust muffler sitting kind of low, so he ended up trying to push it up the best he can, maybe hammer down some of the piping a little bit, that way it could sit pretty good without bottoming out the subframe once it hits it on big drops. So he did all that, so I appreciate him for that. And he did weld new hangers on the muffler itself, that way it could sit pretty high. Even currently the muffler is kind of low, but it doesn't look bad. Another issue that we had that was kind of my part was I was extremely picky with tips. So we were gonna do bolt-on tips in case whatever reason we want to change it in the future, and I just couldn't find the tips that I like. Some tips end up sitting too out, some tips end up sitting too in, and some tips just didn't look good. It was funny because the tips that sat in looked good and the tips that sat out didn't look good. So it's harder to judge which one I wanted. I wanted more that aggressive poke. I like the look of what the tips that sunken in more, because on the edges it had that sharp angle and you could see like the tips going in to like the outlet, and it looks pretty aggressive in my opinion. So it's just hard to say. And we ended up setting for these eBay tips that he found, and they look pretty much okay, not as aggressive as the one that I liked, but like I said earlier, I'd rather have that poke than the sunken in one. And with the ones that poke out too much, they look good, but at the same time, you can see where that 4-inch tip steps down to that 2.5-inch piping that we had. It just didn't look good from the sides. I didn't like that look, and these eBay tips is pretty much a full tube all the way down. You don't see the step down, until at the very end. So that was pretty cool how he found those. And that's what we ended up getting with. It took a while, it took a few weeks talking back and forth, finding the right tips. But that's pretty much how we did it. Choose the right tips, made bolts on it. Even if it didn't come with the clamps to make it a bolt-on tip, my brother kind of made it to a clamp-on tip. So I appreciate him for his creative mind and trying those new things and everything like that. Currently my tips kind of sit kind of high, so I definitely have to take it out and readjust it. But overall, can't complain with the end results that we end up having. I apologize if clips are kind of everywhere. It's so much photos and video clips to go through, and these are like months way before. So just going back into it, looking at it, I might just slap some clips here and there and just let it play through and let y'all see it. Thankfully, the RCF does not come with a spare tire, so I kind of threw the Valvetronic vacuum system right here. And I have it tapped into one of those dead fuses, like there's not a spot for a fuse. It turns off and on with the car. Don't quote me on it. I believe it's on the very far left under the 30 amp, I believe. Don't have a picture of it, sadly, but that's where I have it hooked up to. And I managed to get remote signal through my HomeLink system on my mirror, so I actually can open and close the valve with the mirror itself instead of using the remote. So that was pretty nice. We did a muffler delete first, so pretty much when the valves are open, it's practically a muffler delete, but when we unbolted the axle back, it was quiet. So I did what any other good Samaritan would do and cut the resonators off with it. Also for the wiring, pretty much had to remove the entire back seat and then wire it under the brace. And for the vacuum lines, we just kind of stick it through an existing grommet in the trunk. Pretty much that was all to it. If you have any questions down below, just let me know. Until then, just enjoy a few clips of him installing it and welding it. And then at the very end, we'll put the sound clips. here's how it looks underneath. So you got the mufflers right there, of course slanted, the tips slanted, and it goes all the way down. Here's how it looks. And it's a bolt-on axle back. As y'all can see, it bolts on perfectly. And I'm draining my oil in this video, but if you just go down as well, move down a little bit. Let's see if I can get my, you see the resonator delete, and like I said, resonator delete all the way back. So again, bolt on right here. The spring bolts and everything. You got a flange. And bolts it all the way. Bolts it all the way back to the mufflers. There it goes. And like I said, he puts it all the way back to the mufflers. Here's the hangers. Here hangers too, just to raise up the exhaust as high as we can. This does sit kind of low. And you can see that logo, that's a Valtronic mufflers. And then it goes to a clamp-on tip right here. Clamps on. Another hanger there to raise up the exhaust. It comes out to the exhaust. And as you can see, the valve is currently closed. That's the valve, so when it closes, all the sound will come out of this tip. You can see it's muffled. And when it's open, all the sound will try to come out of this tip. And raise it up pretty high. That way we're not scraping. But you can see this is kind of low, so we're not scraping as bad. And that's how it looks underneath. As you can see, we still have the OEM secondary cats. And that's pretty much what's underneath the car. Again, this is how the tips look. It's pointed a little bit up, so I can point it down a little bit. That's how it looks. Above, that's a staggered. On the tips, it's a little dirty. These are 2.5 to 4-inch tips. That's how they look. I'm on my normal camera record settings and just listen to this idle. This is our valves open. Let me close these valves. Closing the valves. And valves closed. It's crazy, y'all.